Children do not remember every rule you set, every lunch you packed, every car ride, every bedtime, every correction. But many of them remember a sentence. Not because it was loud, not because it was dramatic, because it arrived at a moment when their nervous system was trying to answer a question far more important than the spilled milk or the slammed door or the tears over the wrong cup. The hidden question was this: when I am overwhelmed, inconvenient, unreasonable, embarrassed, angry, ashamed, or heartbreakingly small, what do I become in your eyes? That is the sentence children keep. They carry it into adolescence, then into marriage, then into work, then into the private conversations they have with themselves when no one is around. Parents often underestimate this because adulthood teaches us to focus on events. Childhood is different. Childhood is built out of emotional conclusions. A sentence becomes unforgettable when it tells the child what kind of person they are allowed to be in the presence of love. This is why throwaway language is never truly throwaway in family life. You think you are just trying to get through a hard moment quickly. The child hears a philosophy of worth. You say, "Stop crying, it's not a big deal," hoping to reduce the size of the problem. The child may hear, "My feelings become unacceptable before they become understandable." You say, "What is wrong with you?" in the exhausted voice of a parent at the end of the day, and the child hears not a frustrated question, but a character verdict. You say, "You're fine," because you cannot tolerate the inconvenience of another emotional scene, and the child begins to wonder whether their own internal alarms can be trusted. Language does not only organize behavior, it organizes identity. And when a sentence lands during distress, it tends to bypass argument and settle into the child's inner narrator. There are some sentences that wound and some that build. The surprising thing is that the building sentences are usually not dramatic. They are simple, almost disarmingly plain. The first is this: your feelings make sense. Not your behavior makes sense. Not every conclusion makes sense. Not the tantrum, not the insult, not the slammed drawer. The feeling. Parents often resist this because they think validation means surrender. It does not. Validation means the child's inner experience is real enough to be named before it is managed. When a 6-year-old is devastated over the wrong cereal bowl, adults are tempted to treat the moment as absurd because the trigger is absurd to us. But the bowl is rarely the whole story. Maybe the day was already full of losing. Maybe the child is tired, ashamed, overstimulated, left out, or carrying a fear too inarticulate to explain. Your feelings make sense tells the nervous system it does not need to escalate in order to be recognized. That is often the first step toward regulation. The second sentence is just as powerful. Tell me what happened. Notice what this does. It slows the room down. It replaces accusation with investigation. A child who has made a mess, lied, hit a sibling, shut down at school, or erupted in public is often bracing for moral interpretation before anyone has gathered the facts. Tell me what happened does not erase accountability. It creates enough safety for truth to enter the room. Children do not become honest because adults make dishonesty terrifying. They become honest because the truth has somewhere to land. Many children lie not because they are deeply deceptive, but because their mistakes already feel fused with their worth. They fear the emotional blast radius of being known. This sentence lowers that radius. It says there is a path back to connection through honesty, not just through performance. Over time, that changes the moral climate of a family. Children learn that confession is not social suicide. It is the beginning of repair. Then there is a sentence every child deserves to hear after they bring you something difficult. I'm glad you told me. This may be one of the rarest forms of parental intelligence, because everything in adults is often tempted to respond with alarm first. Your child admits they cheated, that someone touched them in a way that felt wrong, that they are vaping, that they are lonely, that they hate school, that they got in over their head, that they looked at something online they cannot unsee, that they were cruel to someone, that they are scared of their own thoughts. The immature parental response is to make the confession feel like a second danger. The wiser response is to protect the channel before you address the content. I'm glad you told me does not say the situation is fine. It says the relationship is still safe enough for truth. That sentence can determine whether your child brings you the next hard thing or disappears into secrecy for years. Another sentence that changes everything is, let's slow this down. Emotional moments move quickly. A child is crying. You are busy. There are groceries in the trunk. Siblings are watching. Everyone is late. Your own nervous system is already frayed. In those moments, speed feels efficient. In reality, speed is often what turns a hard moment into a defining wound. Let's slow this down communicates something children rarely receive when they most need it. Your distress does not force me to abandon my mind. I can stay with you without becoming you, and I can guide this moment without humiliating you. That is emotional leadership. It is especially powerful with children who spiral fast because the sentence does not demand instant composure. It lends composure. It also quietly tells the child that intensity is survivable. Not because we deny it, but because we can think inside it. Families are shaped by these repeated experiences. Children eventually borrow that tone and use it on themselves. There is also a sentence parents almost never hear enough about. You're not bad. You're having a hard time. Children are astonishingly quick to convert behavioral struggle into moral identity. One forgotten homework assignment becomes, I'm lazy. One impulsive shove becomes, I'm mean. One meltdown becomes, I'm crazy. One social mistake becomes, no one likes me. Parents often contribute to this accidentally by correcting behavior with global language. You're so rude. You're impossible. You always do this. What is wrong with you today? In contrast, separating the child from the state helps preserve dignity while still allowing accountability. You're not bad. You're having a hard time is not softness. It is precision. It makes later correction more effective because shame is not flooding the entire system. Shame rarely produces wisdom. More often, it produces hiding, defensiveness, or numbness. Children do need limits. They simply learn best when the limit is not delivered as an attack on who they are. A sixth sentence is one many adults struggle to say because it requires the parent to surrender superiority for truth. I was wrong. A remarkable number of people grow up without ever hearing a parent apologize cleanly. Parents explain. Parents justify. Parents blame stress. Parents imply the child forced the reaction. What children hear from that is devastating. Power does not have to answer for itself. But when a parent says, "I was wrong. I should not have spoken to you like that. I was frustrated, but that was not your burden to carry," the child learns something far more valuable than perfection. They learn that love and accountability can occupy the same room. They learn that authority does not require emotional dishonesty. They learn that repair is possible after rupture. That lesson will shape every future relationship more than an image of parental flawlessness ever could. Then there is the sentence that protects a child's future capacity for trust. We'll figure this out together. Notice the difference between this and rescuing. Rescuing takes the problem away to stop your own discomfort. We'll figure this out together keeps the child inside the process while preventing them from feeling exiled by it. It says you are not alone with your fear, your mistake, your consequence, or your confusion. This is particularly powerful when children face something genuinely destabilizing: academic failure, friendship collapse, bullying, family divorce, grief, diagnosis, discipline at school, or the first terrifying awareness that life can change quickly. Children do not need parents who panic better than they do. They need parents who can stand next to difficulty without making the child feel abandoned inside it. That sentence becomes a portable memory. Years later, it often returns as an internal resource. I can face hard things without disappearing. What is striking is that all of these sentences share one quality. They make room before they make a point. Modern parenting often gets trapped in technique, consequences, scripts, and optimization. But the most influential language in a family is rarely the cleverest. It is the language that tells the child whether emotion can remain connected to relationship. A home where children hear only correction becomes efficient but brittle. A home where children hear only reassurance becomes warm but unstable. The wiser middle is harder and far more powerful. It sounds like, "I see what this is costing you. I am not afraid of your feelings. I am not surrendering my role. And I am not going to teach you that love gets withdrawn precisely when you are hardest to be with." This matters beyond childhood because parental language becomes adult self-talk with astonishing reliability. The child who repeatedly hears "calm down" in a dismissive tone often grows into the adult who shames themselves for any strong feeling. The child who hears "tell me what happened" grows into the adult who can investigate themselves instead of condemning themselves. The child who hears "I'm glad you told me" may one day tell the truth sooner in marriage, in therapy, in friendship, in moments of failure, because truth no longer feels like the end of belonging. The child who hears "I was wrong" is less likely to confuse power with infallibility. The child who hears "we'll figure this out together" has a better chance of reaching for support before they are drowning. These are not soft effects. They are structural. Of course, language alone is not enough. A sentence spoken once cannot compensate for a family culture that repeatedly humiliates, ignores, or over-controls. Children are far too intelligent for that. They register tone, timing, face, consistency, follow-through. A beautiful sentence, spoken with contempt in the eyes, becomes a performance. But the opposite is also true. A plain sentence, spoken sincerely at the right moment, can do more regulatory work than a long speech ever could. Parents often talk too much when children are distressed, because adults are trying to solve their own helplessness with language. The real art is not saying more. It is saying what keeps the channel open. So the next time your child is melting down over something that seems absurd, lying about something small because the truth feels dangerous, confessing something hard, or shutting down in shame, pay attention to the sentence that rises first in you. Is it a sentence designed to get rid of the moment, or a sentence designed to keep relationship alive inside the moment? That distinction may define more of your child's inner life than you realize. And if this gave you language you wish every parent had earlier, subscribe. This channel is for people who want to understand the hidden architecture of family life, the way tiny moments become lifelong emotional habits. And send this video to one person truly close to you, someone you want to build a wiser, steadier relationship with around the children you both love. Sometimes the most important thing you can share is not an opinion. It is a better sentence. Because children do forget details. They forget which store you were standing in. They forget the exact date, the schedule, the object that triggered the tears, the rule, the mess, the toy, the argument. But they remember how a parent's words arranged the room around their distress. They remember whether love narrowed or widened. They remember whether truth was dangerous. They remember whether mistakes made them bad or simply human. Long after your voice is no longer the loudest one in their life, those sentences keep speaking. The question is whether they will sound like accusation or like home. Think about ordinary moments, because that is where this becomes real. Your 8-year-old comes home furious because a friend chose someone else at recess. Adults are tempted to wave this off as minor social weather. But to a child, belonging is not a side issue. It is a survival issue. The wrong sentence there is, "You'll be fine, it's not a big deal." The better sentence is, "That hurts. Your feelings make sense." Nothing magical happened to the facts. The friendship may still be messy tomorrow. What changed is that the child no longer has to face the social wound and the parental dismissal at the same time. Or picture your teenager admitting they broke a rule and are waiting for you to become unrecognizable. "Tell me what happened" is not permissiveness in that moment. It is how you stop fear from replacing truth as the organizing principle of the conversation. There is also enormous power in a sentence as simple as, "I can see this matters to you." Children suffer when adults insist that only objectively serious events deserve emotional seriousness. Development does not work that way. The broken science project, the forgotten invitation, the cancelled sleepover, the teacher's offhand comment, the haircut that feels humiliating, the song no one understood when they played it for you. These moments often look trivial to adult eyes, because adults know how long life is. Children do not. Childhood is lived close to the surface, What happens today often feels total. When a parent says, "I can see this matters to you," the child receives a crucial message. I do not have to persuade you that my reality exists before I can get comfort. That single shift reduces so much unnecessary loneliness inside family life. And then there are the moments after the conflict, which matter just as much as the conflict itself. Too many families treat the return to normal as sufficient repair. Time passes, everyone calms down, dinner happens, school happens, and the emotional residue is expected to disappear without ever being metabolized. But children do not simply need the fight to end. They need help understanding what the fight meant. Sometimes, the sentence they need most comes later. I've been thinking about what happened, and I want to do that better with you next time. That tells the child they are worth reflection, even after the room has settled. It tells them that conflict is not just something endured, but something from which the relationship can learn. That is how homes become places of formation rather than mere management.